Welcome everyone to the CLR Interoperability Showcase. My name is Jeff Bohr. I'm a program manager here at IMS Global, responsible for much of our work in the digital credentials area. And today is an event that we have been looking forward to for quite a while. It's called the CLR Interoperability Showcase. And as I just mentioned, over the next 90 minutes, you're going to be seeing demonstrations of how a handful of early adopter technology suppliers have implemented the CLR 1.0 standard that's been worked on for the last few years. We're quite excited to be at this point. So just a very brief background on the comprehensive learner record. The CLR is at the heart of IMS's digital credentials work and is really at the heart of the digital credentials ecosystem that's emerging. The CLR is an official record of learning that can contain all types of learning achievements like course completions and degrees and diplomas, as well as skills and competencies and training that can be received through participating in any type of learning organization, whether it's formal education, schools, universities, or in the workplace, in corporate learning, corporate training settings, or even in the military. So the CLR is designed to support all types of learning throughout a learner's journey through education and their career. We aren't able to do a deep dive into all the features of the CLR, but I would direct your attention to the IMS website listed on the screen, imsglobal.org/CLR, where you can find all the details about what is special about the CLR 1.0 standard. It's ready for adoption, and that's the point of today's showcase, is to demonstrate not only how products have implemented the CLR standard, but actually how they're sharing data between platforms. So we have a number of early adopters that are pairing up to demonstrate how the CLR data is flowing from one system to another. So we also had an exciting and significant event previously earlier in 2020 when the American Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers finished a review of the CLR 1.0 standard and came out with this recommendation for post-secondary institutions. And that has stimulated a lot of interest in the standard and a lot of momentum towards aligning projects that had been underway with the technical underpinnings that is the CLR 1.0 standard. So if you want to read more about this, I direct your attention to the ACRO website here. So without further ado, these are the 6 organizations that are participating in today's interoperability showcase: AEFIS, Greenlight Public Consulting Group, ELocker with their partner organization Grad Intelligence, and Randa Solutions. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our first demonstrator, and that is AEFIS. And they each, I should just mention, each organization on the call has about 15 minutes. So presenters, please be aware of the time. We want to make sure each gets their fair time. If we do need to go over by a minute or two, we'll allow for that, especially if there's some dialogue and questions, but just ask for everyone to be aware of the time. So thanks. AEFIS team, take it over.
Thanks, Jeff. Hello, hello all. I'm Özgür Yorkçu. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at AEFIS, and AEFIS is an assessment management platform for higher ed, and we're focusing on student success and institutional effectiveness. So let me start by sharing my screen. And I'm logging on to AEFIS as a student. And with this logon, I'm logging into my dashboard. It's taking me a minute or two. Possibly it's because our development environments and all the changes are last minute changes.
It goes without saying that these early adopters are also very courageous for doing live demos during the session.
Thanks. Your support helped our servers speed up the process. As a student, I log into dashboard. So AEFIS is all about authentic lifelong learning and skills-based assessment and provable, like skill-based authentic assessment is core of our all processes. So as a student, like on the dashboard, I can have a brief overview of my skills, the experiences that I had, my success, but all of these are skill-based success and proved through skills-based assessments. So I would like to look at my skills first. So this screen basically gives me all the assessments, skills-based assessment that were carried out through my learning. So let's focus on creative problem solving first. Creative problem solving is a core skill for AEFIS. We want all our employees to have like great problem solving skills. But how do we prove that? How do we know an employee actually is good at problem solving? In this case, this learner can click show details, and I have a detailed breakdown of how this learner was assessed, the student was assessed in problem solving with embedded proof. So in one of the courses, ENG 101, there were a few assessments that we see over here. We see the scores on those assessments, and those scores were given by John instructor. And our learner here was successfully achieved those overall success. He or she achieved overall success in all of these assessments. And I can look into more detail. So I can look into this document and actually see the work that learner completed. Well, it was a PET therapy for rapid patient recovery. So in this way, as an employer, I can see whether the actual student, the work the prospect employer carried out, and how it was assessed, to which skills that was tied to, and all the assessment process carried out by the instructor. And the nice thing is, all of this information with all the context embedded in the CLR. So let's look at another view of learning of this learner, the badges, right? The badges are another critical digital credential as proof of learning. At AEFIS, our badges are connected to skills. So the badges can be given based on a specific skill, for instance, skill on ABET-A, or a specific innovation skill that are defined by a specific college. And the success, a well-defined success can be tied and proven in based on the assessments carried out on that work. So I'll just go back to the skill here. And I can see the relationship of that badge to the actual skill that was assessed to give that badge. And the nice thing is, as I said, everything is embedded, all of this information is embedded in the CLR with all the hierarchies, like the outcomes, the skills, how those skills relate to the courses or other educational experiences that that learner has achieved, all the assessments carried out during the process, and the actual documents that were created by the learner in those assessments. So I think this is the more interesting part, but our focus is how all this complex network of information can be embedded in a document and then can be transferred to other systems. So on our share here, we have a download skills button, which simply packs all this information up and creates one signed CLR document that the learner can take anywhere, upload to another server, another system that supports the CLR standards. And I guess this is the less exciting part, but we can also do it with software. So in this example, I'm showing simply the consumer application developed by MS Global. And thank you, Andy, for doing that. I know you're also listening. So in this example, we just go to the API call. So with this request, with software, we pull all of this information and receive successfully to get this data. There you go, and it loaded. And this is the information. I mean, obviously we don't see much here, so there's no proof that this is correct. So, but we do have a solution to that actually. Greenlight did some great work to actually pull that data and show that in their user interface. And I know Shrikant is here. So I think it's a good time to continue with him, where he can show how another software can pull this information and actually display that in their user interface with all this context and complex network of information attached.
Thank you, Oscar. I guess I can share my screen now.
I'll just stop my share.
Screen. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background on Greenlight itself and then walk you through the core Greenlight application. And then I'll show you the integration with AEFIS. So the idea behind Greenlight is to give students access to their lifelong learning credentials in a secure wallet application. So what you're seeing here is a web application that we've developed for students to access their lifelong learning credentials. And we partner with educational institutions such as K-12 districts, colleges, and universities for them to issue the credentials to the students into the Greenlight locker. So this demo student, when the demo student logs in and goes in, shows in one place here. So I think it's a little slow. Okay, so you can see that there are two transcripts here. One is college transcript. And the transcript has all of the data that goes on a printed transcript, but this transcript is actually generated and rendered by Greenlight using the underlying data. So what we get from the educational institutions when they issue a credential is the underlying data. And we render the transcript in multiple formats. One is PDF. We also do EDI, we do PESC XML, and so on. And same thing for K-12 transcripts as well. They're rendered in the Texas Academic Achievement Record Standard. We also support certifications and certificates. So these can be issued by the certification issuer or by the educational institution themselves. Recommendation letters, students can request a recommendation letter directly from Greenlight. And when the recommender provides the recommendation, that recommendation letter can be stored in the locker if it's an open recommendation letter. If it's a blind recommendation letter, then obviously it's not stored in the locker. Digital badges, the student can upload the badge themselves because the badges have assertions built into them, so we can verify that they're valid badges, and students can aggregate all of their badges in Greenlight. We also support the ability for students to upload the FAFSA student aid report. So this is something that the students can send to scholarship providers and so on. So it gives a summary of all their um, financial aid that they've received from FAFSA. Now, in terms of sharing the documents, we made it very, very simple for students. They can click on share. They can type the name of the university that they want to send it to. We can route the transcripts multiple ways. We have a lot of universities that have signed up as receivers with Greenlight, so they receive it directly from Greenlight in their dashboard. In addition to that, we are also connected to the transcript exchange networks, like the National Student Clearinghouse PD network. So we're able to route transcripts as PD through this PD network to any of the participating institutions there. In addition to that, we can also send documents via email. So the student will simply have to type the email address of the recipient, and with one click of a button, it's sent to the receiver via email. So when it's sent via email, the receiver receives an email that lets them know that Dallas College student has shared a transcript, and they can download the transcript and verify it. So our solution is blockchain-based solution. So we are able to anchor all of the documents to the blockchain. So any document can be instantly verified by just dropping it into our box, or it can be independently verified as well. So this is our core Greenlight application. So what I've done here is, as Oscar was mentioning, we've done integration, and all of this was done in the last few days. And this is a live demo, so I'm hoping everything goes well. So this is our vision for how we want to implement CLR in the Greenlight Locker. So we'll allow the student to upload a CLR file themselves. So this is where Oscar was showing the student can download a CLR file from their application, and technically a student could come in here and upload the CLR themselves. In addition to that, a student could also claim an issued CLR from another system, like AEFIS as an example. So here, all the integrations for CLR enabled endpoints will be listed here. So let's say the student wants to request it from AEFIS. They'll pick AEFIS and they'll say request. So at this point, the student will, the screen will be shown for the student to log into AEFIS. So I'm going to log in as a student here. And when I log in here, what will come back will be displayed in the wallet for the student. So, so a little slow, but yeah, this is what came back from AEFIS, REST API. So the student information is here, the issuer information is here. We're displaying the public key because then anybody can independently verify this document. Here are all the signed assertions. We have assignments and assessment results. So in the assignments, you can go into each of them and you can see there's a signed endorsement and the description is there. And then if you wanted to look at the digitally signed assertion itself, you can look at it and independently verify it if you wanted to. But Greenlight also does the verification, and we've shown that the status is verified here. So these are all the assignments. These are the assessment results. So same concept here. These are signed documents, and so they've been verified. And then we have all the other achievements that are not signed, but they're part of the CLR document, like competencies as an example. Here are all the competencies. And we have assignments that were part of this. Then there are courses. So these are all the courses that the student has completed. And a lot of the assignments are part of the courses. So there are references in the assignment themselves to the courses. So that relationship could also be shown as a next step here. And then, of course, the degree that the student has obtained. And then our idea is now to allow the student to share the CLR document with anybody, just like I showed you how they show the transcript or badges. They can show the CLR. They can share the CLR with the receiver. And the display part of it can also be done by Greenlight, but if somebody wanted to receive simply the data behind it, they can do so. So that's my demo, so I'll stop sharing now.
Yeah, that deserves a Zoom applause.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah,
exciting.
real-time connect.
Yeah, thank you, Oscar and Shrikant and the AEFIS team and the Greenlight team. I know there was much hard work behind that demo, so very well done. Any questions for either party? We have a couple of minutes until the next presenter is up.
Do you envision this to be something that can be included in the Common App? I know you showed FAFSA, but is that something that you're thinking to move forward? I'm seeing your head, maybe yes, that is where we're headed.
Yeah, Common App and Apply Texas are two integrations that we plan to do in the future. But in the meantime, we are allowing counselors at districts to, access these transcripts and upload it on behalf of the students, like they do it traditionally today. So,
Awesome.
Jeff, if you have a minute, I would like to add a comment also, if I may.
Go ahead.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. This is Mustafa, CEO of AEFIS, and I want to congratulate Özgür and Shrikant for an amazing, this is a dream come true in some ways. Like Jeff said, this is years of hard work and passion and countless cups of coffee and hours of sleepless nights. Where we're thinking this will go also is we are currently in partnership with Johns Hopkins, University of Maryland, Baltimore County. We are working on expanding the learner journey for higher ed. With continuing ed, as well as the incoming learners at the kind of the before the first day of class levels, where the CLR and what we call the learning journey has potential really expanding the changing business model of the higher ed. So I want to thank everyone on this call to be the community in which is helping usher this change around, which was much needed. And Jeff, thanks to you and IMS Global for their leadership. And everyone is a hero in my book that is involved. So thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions for AEFIS or Greenlight?
I think Phil asked one in chat.
Yeah, does anybody want to add Phil's question or a response to Phil's question?
sorry, what was the question?
So Phil's asking what format is the data packaged in and sent across using the API. I know both of your platforms showed not only the ability for a user to download the file in CLR format, which is JSON, but also you showed the integration between platforms. The format's also JSON. So the CLR 1.0 spec does specify the API for getting and posting CLR data.
So maybe it's important to add also that the data is signed so that there is verification that the data has not been tampered with and the source verifies the data.
Thank you. All right. Next up is Public Consulting Group, PCG. Joshua Marks, I believe, is point for this demonstration and presentation. Is that right, Joshua?
Yeah, I'm standing in for Greg today. So to sort of extend on what we just saw, PCG is working at this from a somewhat different perspective. We're working with two clients, North Dakota, who is wanting to create a verified credential and CLR version of their existing transcript, high school transcript, and Broward County Public Schools, who is interested in providing that learning journey in the K-12 arena that we just saw AEFIS sort of talk about in the post-secondary. But in our environments, we have to integrate existing systems and apply tools to convert that data into CLR information. So I'll show you the two contexts, talk about this what we call the Open Credentials Publisher application that we're developing for North Dakota and intend to apply to the needs in Broward. In North Dakota, they currently have an existing e-transcript portal that was developed by North Dakota IT, and it sits on top of their state data warehouse, and it collects data from PowerSchool, which has a state-level contract. So all of the course completion information for the high school transcript comes in from PowerSchool into the data warehouse and is presented to students as a PDF that looks exactly like this in that e-transcript portal. The data that generates this PDF, however, is available, and what we have been doing is converting that to CLR JSON through a process that's been added as an extension to their existing e-transcript portal. So we basically transform what you see in the transcript back here into the JSON representation of it through a system process that we've developed, or North Dakota is developing. And the key issue here really is how you define the course. And what we've been doing is well, first we work with North Dakota to develop a version of OpenSalt for North Dakota, which we see in that picture. Case.gov, case.nd.gov, sorry. So North Dakota stood up a copy of OpenSalt here, and they have published first all of their state standards in case format. So now you can know in North Dakota when you complete high school what it is you're supposed to know in English and language arts, down to the specific skills involved. So this is very much like what you saw in AEFIS, defining the competencies. This is the equivalent in K-12. What is it you're supposed to know and be able to do by the time you graduate high school? And then in addition, we created with them a course code catalog here. So this is the canonical representation of all the courses in North Dakota that you can take through high school in all categories, including their code numbers and names. Now, many of these are also aligned with a SCEDS code. So we've also created a framework for NCES SCEDS code. So this goes to that payload question that was just asked. How do you define the course that the student had completed? How do you know that that course that they completed is the same as the course that you have in your course catalog, or similar enough to be equivalent for credit purposes or for entry requirement purposes? So in North Dakota, we're solving this issue of connecting the achievements in the courses down to the specific skills associated with those courses. And that's going to be very helpful, I hope, in providing a better view of what students have learned through that process. So back to our picture here. So this Open Credential Publisher application is being developed by Randa Solutions with support of North Dakota IT and PCG. This Open Credentials Publisher application got a number of modules associated with it, and it is being developed under the IEEE open source platform. Let me find that for you here. So we invite any of you to participate in this open source project. Not that one. More here. So this link here is to the Open Credential Publisher. It's within the IEEE Git lab, and we provide you the opportunity to participate in this Open Credential Publisher project. We're using some of the code All right, so continuing on, the other project that we're working on is in Broward. And Broward is somewhat of a different integration. They currently have a learning management system that they use, Canvas. The teachers enter information into grade books. They have a number of formative assessment platforms. So we're implementing an assertion tool that takes all of that data and transforms it to CLR information and puts it in that open credential publisher. And we're developing an ecosystem with Broward College and a number of after-school programs, CTE programs, work-based training programs, and tutoring services within the Broward region to enable students to have their own personal CLR wallet, where they can aggregate the information from Broward high school, middle and high schools, as well as information from after-school programs, tutoring programs, and work-based training programs into a wallet so they can share it with Broward College and deal with things like dual credit, as well as entry requirements into programs within Broward College. So essentially, we're taking the same open credential publisher that we're developing here that has two components within it. A CLR achievement service and a verified credential publishing service. And the achievement service collects all of those achievements for the student and provides a web wallet view of that data. And then the verified credential publishing service wraps that in a signed verified credential, and just as Greenlight demonstrated, allows you to transfer that data to a student personal wallet and provide a proof of that transfer and validation on a blockchain using trust over IP methods. So there's going to be two components coming out of the North Dakota work that are open source that other people can leverage or participate in. One is the open source credential publisher, which I think Marty is on it and will be able to demonstrate later on, and then a web wallet, which students can download and use that could be white labeled and branded, so students can manage their aggregated results and share them with verifiers in a way that can be verified off of a blockchain. So that's the development we're doing as system integrators, solution developers for custom and open source solutions to do the kinds of things you just saw from both AEFIS and Greenlight.
Joshua, I missed the beginning. Did you talk about Broward, how we're connecting with case data?
Yeah. You must have come in just a moment ago. Anything you want to add, Greg, now that you're here?
No, I'm sure you handled everything, so great.
Questions?
There is
the key thing we're trying to deal with, particularly in both of these situations, is dealing with both ends of the supply and demand. We have North Dakota supplying a transcript in a form that can be verified and using CLR as the data payload, and they want to exchange that with all manner of post-secondary and employer consumers. So providing the open source tools will enable those consumers to also consume and use the data. And the same thing in Broward. We're trying to create an ecosystem between all of those education providers within the region and Broward College and Broward County Public Schools. So to do so, you have to provide both ends of the solution.
To Suzanne's question, yes, the goal is to have it fully extensible for any type of assessment or achievement assertion broadly. In fact, the call I was just on was application of the same technology to COVID test results and vaccine results. So these same verifiable credentials can be used to transmit public health data and other personal data, as well as any type of achievement assertion.
All right. Any other questions about the North Dakota project, the Broward County project, the design or implementation questions for PCG?
Joshua, you got this about what's wrapped around what and what's signed from Chris?
So there's kind of a double signing So there is definitely the signing of the CLR, but to transact with the wallet, the verified credential peer did method is necessary to enable the self-sovereign identity of the student. So that's why there's two levels of signing. One is to sign the credential to the identity of the student, that's the CLR part. And the second is to sign the whole package, you know, the envelope, if you will, so you can transfer it to a wallet and maintain self-sovereign identity of the student so they don't expose their identity across all of their providers. And in terms of the CLR assertions, one of the very interesting things we've been doing is trying to identify the extensions necessary to define a transcript. There are many things in a high school transcript that aren't native part of the CLR structure, so we're trying to create a normalized structure for the extensions for things like the school organization and the alternate school organization and the term of the study and the term of the course. There's a lot of details in there that are not explicit in the CLR, but are explicit in SPEEDY and task records. So we've been working with task to identify a set of namespace extensions specifically for transcripts to support North Dakota's needs for transcripts in a way that isn't North Dakota specific. And I think we'll need to definitely work and have been working with Oscar in particular, but also Greenlight on harmonizing the PESC element extensions to the CLR for the transcript. It's much less of an issue for the achievements like assignments and courses. That is fairly well supported within CLR, but the other extensions for transcripts are not. And this project is demonstrating and trying to develop normalized ways to extend CLR with transcript specific information.
And why don't you connect with Nate after to get the example.
All right. Well, let's all give PCG a round of Zoom applause. Thank you very much. And at this time,
I'm sorry. I just want to make sure that I see Marty on. It's clear that we're working with Randa on this, right? Joshua made that clear. I don't want to make it sound like we're doing all of this with.
I mentioned that Marty could demonstrate it in a bit.
Yeah.
And Tracy's on here also. Just want to acknowledge Tracy's leadership.
Yeah, Marty with Randa will wrap up the interoperability showcase for us in a few minutes. All right. So we'll turn over the screen sharing to ELocker. Nick Hathaway, feel free to introduce yourself and your partner organization, Grad Intel, but the podium is yours.
Good morning. We're excited to participate this morning, and really John Bolland, our colleague in the UK, is going to lead our demonstration. But thank you so much for the invitation, and we're excited to present in front of all of our colleagues. So I'll turn it to John.
Thanks, Jeff. We're not used to doing this type of showcase presentation, so there's been a bunch of nerves in preparing to demonstrate things live to you all. I thought it might be useful before I jump into actually showcasing the actual demonstration, just to give you a little bit of background to our work and our focus, and just to say thanks particularly to Jeff and the team for the great work that they've done in enabling us to get to this point so quickly with the documentation standards and supporting APIs and examples that are available for other organizations to get involved with this process. As a business, my name's John Bolland. I'm the chief executive of a business called Olive Don Limited. Our focus for the past 13 years has been building on our history in providing universities and colleges with student information systems. But we've been focused for the last 13 years on what can we do to better support that transition from education into employment and further study. And in so doing, we've been actively building out a credentials platform here in the UK. We're currently the UK's market leading digital credentials service and now support just over 1.3 million learners and recent graduates in partnership with some UK universities who use us to publish their credentials. And our work in the US is focused through our developments with ELocker. And Nick here is the chief exec of ELocker and has been working with us in partnership with the University of Central Oklahoma to develop our platforms and showcase our services in credential portability. Just in terms of the focus of this demonstration, I'm just going to be giving you an introduction to actually what we're trying to show in the showcase, but just in terms of the breadth of our interests. As a result of our work, we focus very much on the learner at the heart of our service. We provide learners here in the UK with access to their digital credentials to freely serve them up to whoever they want, whenever they want, to verify their credentials, but also that the data inherent in those credentials, combined with other information about individuals, their personal development and other characteristics, we use to support them in providing targeted services to help them in those transitions. For credential issuers, we provide a suite of tools, some of which have been described previously, to help organizations transform their transcript data and other achievement records into standardized forms. I think it's important to say that in the UK, we've had a slight lead on this in that for the past 10 years, we've had a nationwide agreed data standard for the reporting of higher education achievements called the HERE. And perhaps we'll look at that in a bit more detail as we go through this session. But our work has been in transforming that data into IMS-based CLR credentials as part of this demonstration. So we're supporting learners, credential issuers. We also support individuals in their transitions, working with recruiters, agencies, organizations that are interested in talented individuals to be able to analyze talent data and recruit in very targeted ways those individuals, typically to postgraduate recruitment or employment internships, placement type programs. And we're also very excited by the skills and competency focus you all have, particularly around the work of IMS in CASE. And I think that's where we want to go next. But we are very focused on how we support institutions to articulate their skills and competency frameworks and to map those into things others can describe. And we provide a range of services here to support organizations construct development journeys and to recognize individuals' engagement in their development programs in a variety of ways. And perhaps those that are interested could get in touch after. In terms of scale, the UK, as I say, I think is quite unique in terms of the volume of standards-based credentials that it issues. What the UK has chosen to do, and we think it's a major step, is that they've chosen to issue these verified credentials not just as exit documents, but as documents that persist throughout the student journey as a balance sheet of achievement that are updated throughout studies. So to date, we've issued through our network of credentialing issues just over 6 million of these credentials, and the vast majority of them are the Higher Education Achievement Report, but it's not just those, it's status letters, it's degree award certificates, it's open badges, it's individual certificates of achievement, a whole variety of things. And it doesn't seem to slow down. In terms of the receiving side of this, our service is involved with individuals serving up these credentials to third parties to enable them to verify their experiences in support of various life transitions. And as a consequence, as a student-led process, there are now over 1,000 universities globally that are receiving their digital credentials through the Grad Intelligence Service, and just over 10,000 employers, embassies, credential check agencies and others who similarly use our platform to verify credentials. And that encouragingly is growing at an increasing pace. And one of the findings that we've had here in the UK is that actually you do need a very seriously critical mass of credentials for relying parties to want to use these in a digital form, be them in a CLR or other form. Is that okay by way of an introduction? That was just kind of just giving you a bit of scene setting for the work we're doing and just trying to explain why we're excited by that, the CLR developments and the work of IMS and T3 and others. For the purpose of showcasing our work, this diagram attempts to describe what I'm planning on showing. We've got a a demonstration student, John Davis. This individual was originally a student at the University of Central Oklahoma, where they conducted a bachelor's program. They progressed to the UK to study at the University of Middleton. Let me just say that one's a fictitious university. And there they've received a series of credentials, including a higher education achievement report for a master's program. We're also using IMS's Global's repository of CLR data as part of this demonstration platform, and we'll be hoping to demonstrate a user from the UK accessing their credentials in CLR form, being able to share them, being able to access credentials that are held in IMS Global, and then looking from an ELocker point of view, how that individual, John, could consolidate his credentials and use other related services from the US. I hope that's clear. Let me have a go, and let's hope that this all works for you. So I'm logging in here as a user of the Grad Intelligence Service in the UK. I'm picking a student user of the platform, and this is presenting him with a customized dashboard reflecting the things that the university think are of most interest to him. In this case, the student has access to a series of records published by that university, including an enrollment status confirmation, a detailed academic transcript, an award certificate, and something called a higher education achievement report, which in the UK is issued to the HERE XML data standard, but also some guidance governs the way that this data is presented as a set of achievements. But what's important about this is it not just contains all of the academic data, it contains extensive context around what the individual had to do to get on the program, how they enrolled, what the learning outcomes, educational aims of the program, everything they've studied. But also within the UK, this also includes all of the non-academic achievements the individual has been recognised as achieving. Those are issued as digitally signed documents, and the individuals are free to share those with recipients and to control recipient access to their credentials. This user also, through this platform, has access to skills and competency development programs, volunteering schemes that the university runs, matched jobs opportunities that are relevant with their stage of study based on analysis of their talent profile, and other information they may choose to record or upload in their wallet, or as a result of taking online psychometrics or building out their ECV. From a CLR point of view, this individual has had, as a result of the production of the HERE, had generated for them through a transformation process, a higher education achievement report. And that's rendered through the application for the individual in the structures recommended by IMS. So in this case, we're presenting the various assertions, the associated achievements, and associated with each of those, in this case, the modules or courses of study, what builds up to those particular assertions. So all of this data has been automatically generated through a transformation process linked to that individual's HERE production process. This is verified at a top level, and all the individual's assertions are also verified, and I'm able through this process to import from another provider, and I'm afraid at the moment we have a very limited set of trusted providers, but for demonstration purposes we're working with ELocker and with IMS. And for the IMS assertion, I'm simply logging into, assuming I'm not just John Davis, but also Alice, I'm logging into IMS's service to access the credentials available for me through IMS with the ability to add these credentials into my wallet. So I'm just authenticating myself through IMS and retrieving those records into my wallet. And once they're in my wallet, I'm then free to interrogate those, view the associated assertions and data associated with that CLR imported from IMS. So that's just demonstrating it from a UK point of view. I've got a badge associated with an open badge associated with my development program. I've got a HERE. I've uploaded my Intel employer learning record, which is not verified at the top level, but has verified assertions within it. If I just come out of here and just flip out to an ELocker platform, this is now using a service based in the US. This is demonstration platform configured for the University of Central Oklahoma. And this, and I'm sorry, I'm not sure Jeff is able to make the call today, but some of you will be familiar with Jeff King at the University of Central Oklahoma, whose work on the student transformative learner record has been inspirational to us. At the UCO, they're very focused on producing extended transcripts, things that recognize things beyond the curriculum. And in this case, UCO have issued 2 documents, a certificate and a transformational learner record. In this case, the learner record mirrors the way that UCO produce their transcripts, but actually extends them into also recognizing the extracurricular activities that the individual is engaged within. Those achievements themselves for this individual, if I come back to these, his dashboard, are used also to connect the individual with matched opportunities locally, and these refer to Oklahoma City and Tulsa-based opportunities. And the individual has also been generated a CLR of his transformative learner record, which includes not just his academic progress, but also the stellar achievements that have been recognized through this process. So in this case, his undergraduate program provides access to all the individual assertions, all the individual assessment items associated with those records. But this individual here has more CLRs than he currently has in his ELocker, so he's now able to authenticate himself to other services to consolidate those. So in this case, I'm logging back into the UK platform to be able to authorize myself to access, in this case, authorizing Grad Intelligence to share data with ELocker to be able to read and update and delete CLR data. And if I permit that, it will present to me the credentials, the CLRs that are available from the Grad Intelligence platform, and it's my postgraduate qualification expressed as a here that I want to add as a CLR to my ELocker account. Similarly, I could import from IMS Global the other credentials that are registered with IMS, and in this case, I've got certificates and others that I'm able to build into my profile. In this case, that's created an open badge, as that's part of the specification of this certification through IMS. Now, I was very conscious of time doing that. How did I do, Jeff? Is that broadly within your time limit?
Yeah, if we were scoring on a rubric, you would score mastery of time management, mastery of
very good.
the objectives.
Okay.
So that was very, very exciting to see. And, these demonstrations gloss over the technical sophistication taking place underneath with the data flowing from one platform to the next. So well done. Thank you.
Okay, well, just to say, Jeff, that kudos shouldn't go to me. James Wong is on the call, who's been working with his team very hard over the last few weeks to make this work for the chief exec when he pressed the button. So well done, James.
Thank you, James. Any questions for John or Nick or James?
John, this is Mark. Congratulations. That was a great demonstration. So thank you. Many people on the call may not be aware that the HERE report was actually an inspiration for some of our early work in the extended transcript here at IMS Global.
Yeah.
So it's great to see it all tie back again. Curious what perhaps observations or insights, having the depth of experience that you all do with the HERE and related, that you can offer in the brief moment or two, that as you made that bridge back to what's now the CLR, what can you tell us that you've learned or that we should learn?
James may like to chime in here, Mark. I want to thank you for encouraging us to do this, Mark. I mean, it was your sales skills that got us into this process at the end of the summer. So I don't feel like my arm's been too twisted, but you did persuade us to do this. I have to say, we are very excited about interoperable learner records. We are particularly excited that we have built a mechanism that will enable us to bring well over 1 million learners with standards-based credentials into this ecosystem using the work that we've been doing as part of this, and we think that's quite meaningful to the progress of CLR to get critical mass onto the platform. In terms of what we've learned, excuse me, my daughter's at university, and I don't know if you saw that call coming through, but she must have a crisis, a lockdown crisis. In terms of what we've learned, I think that we've probably not bottomed everything, Mark. We're very active in the attainment space, looking at skills and competencies and the way that those things are reported. We haven't really got into the depth of case as much as we would have liked to have done. We think that's going to reveal a lot more. We're struggling a bit with concepts of level and depth. And James has got a number of things that I think as a consequence of the work we've done would like to spend more time with you thinking about where we should be mapping things. We've made certain assumptions, they may not all be right. Yeah. So I think we've got a bit of work to do there. We've also got some additional data in things like methods of assessment rubrics and other things that we're just trying to work out how best we make sense of those, because they don't come through in a structured way in the current UK standard. Now, we can obviously influence the UK standard, but we'd also just like to talk about how we might treat some of that data because we use it within our services.
Congratulations, James and John and team. Nick.
Okay.
Question was posed in the chat from Phil regarding the wallet that you've used, any relationship with the architecture around verifiable credentials?
No, we actually decided that we wouldn't start there. We're obviously tracking very much the developments that Phil's involved with, and we're very excited about the potential of self-sovereign wallets. We are really excited about the potential of verified credentials. We're slightly unsure as to whether or not some of those technologies are at a stage where we can introduce them to customers yet. We're in exploration mode, but we thought that the important first step for us was to consolidate the credential issuing service, our publishing service, but also the way that students can consume credentials around the IMS standard as step one on our roadmap. I think now we've done that, we'd like to look in more detail about who might consume these things, yeah, as data, and what we need to do to better support that. And that might involve us in some of those things. I have to say, we're not suffering any demand from the market in this area. This is really research and development and trying things. It's certainly not being customer led, but we are excited by it. We just think we might not be quite ready for some of those things.
And then another question, how does the UK deal with standardized achievement descriptions? Is there some type of a registry? I think it's in the consumption and interpretation of the data that this question centers on, but I'll let Greg augment my comments if
I think you face a much more complex landscape than we do. Yeah, we're in the UK. We're addressing a subset of the market in the UK, predominantly higher and further education, where there are a great deal of national standards that surround the way that data is reported and managed and measured. Yeah. So there are lots of standards that let you understand the content of these, the data that comes across as transcripts in meaningful ways. And we've been doing that for quite a while, so you can understand things like depth and level and the quality of achievements in through the data. We are very active in the attainment space here in the UK, which is helping institutions articulate the way that they want to scaffold personal development of students through skills and competency frameworks. They tend to be highly proprietary, university specific, and tend to be used highly locally and are not that portable. So we are really excited by the work that you're doing in that space and how we might be able to leverage some of that to persuade some of our teaching and learning colleagues here in the UK to perhaps think slightly differently and start considering how they might map their own development programs to some external standards. It's not been a big movement here, but obviously we're excited by the interest in the US.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Grad Intelligence team, ELocker team. Great demo and great information. Appreciate that. Bringing us home, wrapping up the showcase is Marty Reed from Randa Solutions. Marty, the Zoom screen sharing is all yours.
Thanks, Jeff. So our presentation obviously builds off of the work with PCG and North Dakota as far as the presentation of a verified credential wrapped CLR. But I wanted to show you kind of the foundation of where our work with CLR started, because I think it's important as we were looking around and trying to think about interoperability and consuming and delivering data. The flexibility of the CLR is really, we use it in a different context. That was the foundation for our work in North Dakota, which is our teacher platform. So we build and maintain statewide teacher effectiveness and licensure systems in a number of states. And so as you can see here, the license of a teacher is made up of a number of different components. It's not just this one document that reports, that I have a license as a teacher. It's actually made up of many, many different components, such as professional development points, experience, transcripts, even badges and those types of things. And so what we did was we leveraged the CLR as the portability into our first blockchain integration application. And so what you see here, this is, as a teacher, I'm able to dynamically select components of my license. So I can send the license to my wallet. This actually leverages Ethereum and IPFS, unlike the North Dakota work. But I can start a request, and so the beauty of the CLR flexibility is that we can dynamically select at the moment of transaction what we want to put in that CLR as we deliver that. So I can select for 4 components. It then packages up that data and delivers it to a hash location. And then that is all, visible and verifiable through publicly available architecture. So this is the hash location that is then the hash of an IPFS location that houses the CLR in transit between the system and the wallet. And then once I use my wallet to deliver it to a consuming system, I get the same presentation that I had in my producing system. So I have licenses, I have degrees and majors, I have educator preparation program completion status, experience, assessments, and really just a very dynamic kind of expanding portfolio. So, professional achievement here with a career level teacher. So I just wanted to share that as a foundation for the work that we are building on top of. North Dakota building the CLR from their e-transcript, PCG building and mapping the data and courseware alignment into that CLR, and then what that produces is we then consume, as Josh was showing earlier, we then consume that through the publishing service, and we put a verified credential wrapper around it. So we took Andy's work with the CLR wallet open source project and extended it such that my link will work. Probably aged out here. And extended it to allow for the verified credential components. So we have the verifiable credential with ID to issuer, and then the proof. And then under here we have, of course, all of you have seen this, the CLR itself and the individual assertions. And some really great work, not by us, but Andy at IMS along with PCG in North Dakota. And really the thing that I nerd out about is right here, where this complete JSON package carries with it that base64 encoded PDF. So you can deliver a completely verifiable PDF inside a CLR, which is really, really cool. And so I nerd out about that, because that's why we implemented the IPFS connection in the first place, was to carry that payload along. And now we can encode it directly in there. So that is just a very, very quick high level view of what we've done. And we'll continue to work through this. So the extension of this is not only to wrap the entire package, but to extend it in this way, where someone can go in and dynamically select the components of that CLR that they want to deliver to someone upstream, and that each assertion be verifiable through the transaction. So there's my 2 cents.
Couple notes. One, Nate, that answers your question about the verified credential, and you can use the open source project to spin up one of these yourself, or we can work with you as we stand up the dev environment to participate in it. And I guess that goes for everybody here in terms of building tools that we can all leverage to enable ecosystems.
Cool. Marty, congratulations to you, the team, PCG, and Tracy, and your team. That's really impressive. Question, is there a way to describe the level of difficulty to get the proof into the packaging? Because that's very creative.
Well, let's see. I think it took about 3 days to extend that foundational open source project. So yeah, what's been built there from an open source standpoint is very flexible. So yeah, it didn't take a lot of effort to do that presentation.
That's great. Again, that's really terrific use of that combination of resources. So well done, everyone involved in the project.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Great. I echo thanks and congratulations as well. Any questions for Marty? I'm just scanning the chat here. A lot of kudos, well deserved. Well, we're excited to see the evolution of all of these projects. And for those of you that typically attend IMS meetings coming up, we are planning another annual Digital Credential Summit for March. So keep your eyes out for further details coming from IMS as that program emerges. We're also planning our usual quarterly meetings like this one that just took place in November. So there will be more opportunities coming up for check-ins on these projects and for sharing the progress throughout the ecosystem. So again, thank you to all of our brave early adopters for their live demos today. Really tremendous work, and IMS stands here ready to support you and answer questions and help out in any way we can. With that, it brings our showcase to a close. So thanks all for your time and attendance. We wish you a great rest of your day, and we'll see you again real soon in some form or another in IMS meetings. Take care.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.